So maybe you're moving to Michigan, or maybe you're just visiting. Have you ever wondered what the best lake towns in Michigan are? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you some of my top picks as someone that's been in Michigan their entire life, and we're going to do all of that starting right now. Welcome. My name is Matt Talbot. I am the host of the Living in Detroit channel. In this video, we're going to talk about lake towns. Yes, it is summer vibes right now here in Michigan, and we want to give you a rundown of some of my top picks of different lake towns throughout the state of Michigan. So I decided to divide this into two categories. One is going to be Great Lakes, lake towns on Great Lakes. The other is going to be Southeast Michigan and some of my favorite towns from a more residential perspective. So I would say the Great Lake towns that I reference are going to be more for vacation properties. A lot of times there are people, of course, that live there. One of them is actually a college town as well too. But some of my favorites based on my travels throughout the state of Michigan here. And then again, the second part of the video is going to be more Southeast Michigan and people that are looking to purchase usually their primary residence. Sometimes it's a lake house here in Southeast Michigan, and some of the different price points from a housing perspective, what that looks like, what these towns are like. We're going to try to give you some footage and some B-roll of these towns, as well as different photos and stuff like that as well along the way, so you can kind of get the picture if you're thinking about purchasing a lake home here in Michigan. Okay, first and foremost on my list for best lake towns on the Great Lakes is going to be Traverse City, Michigan. For those of you who don't know, if you're from out of the state or out of the country and you haven't heard of Traverse City, Michigan, I think Traverse City area and a lot of West Michigan as well as the UP is some of the most underrated property in the entire country, bar none. It is absolutely beautiful. There's so many reasons why cities like Traverse City are awesome, and so I definitely wanted to start there. In my opinion, Traverse City is one of the bigger cities on the west side of the state, so it has a lot of surrounding communities as well too. And so when I talk about Traverse City, I am kind of talking about some of the surrounding communities as well, without a doubt. But the city of Traverse City itself has a population of about 15,000. It is the county seat of Grand Traverse County and the most populous area in northern Michigan, like I was saying. So Traverse City is a bigger city for that part of the state. So it's in the lower peninsula. It's kind of in the upper west side of the lower peninsula. And what's really cool is there's all these different, straits and peninsulas and all these different cutouts that go all up and down really the west side of the state, but definitely in that area. And Traverse City sits right in that area. It also happens to be the cherry capital of the world. So they do a big cherry festival. Yes, like the fruit, grows on trees, all that good stuff. We have great cherries here in Michigan. So they do a cherry festival every year. It's a big sought out event every year in the Traverse City area. But again, just the landscape itself, the beauty that it has. One thing that we didn't mention here in my statistics is the fact that it's wine country in Traverse City, okay? I mean, there's countless, dozens and dozens of different wineries in Traverse City as well too. And again, you kind of run up and down those peninsulas through Traverse City when you're in that area to go check those out. So a lot of people, do bachelorette parties there. They do bachelor parties there. There's a lot of golf courses and that type of stuff in that area, but the wine country is huge and very known for their white wine in that part of the country. So housing statistics, if you're looking for a home in Traverse City, it is not the most affordable area in the state by any stretch of the imagination, but again, I still think is severely underrated when you look at this type of property across the country, and I think you'll continue to see the type of appreciation that we've seen through the years. So currently in 2024, average price range in Traverse City is $521,000. Days on market is 60 days. Average price per square foot is $339 per square foot. So for this part of the state, that's going to be on the higher end without a doubt when you're talking about averages. Once you get outside of Southeast Michigan, greater Grand Rapids area, greater Lansing area, for the most part, Michigan becomes very rural very quick. And a lot of these, even lake towns and stuff like that on the west side of the state, the upper lower peninsula, the lower peninsula, the price per square foot isn't quite as high, but you look at Traverse City as a whole, we're still averaging over $500,000 per home. There's a lot of different home builds, including Victorians, Queen Anne's, Ranch, neoclassical. There's a lot of old architecture throughout the state when you're talking about these lake homes, and Traverse City is similar to that. Now, Traverse City also has newer construction, of course, on the different lakes out that way, of course, on the big lake, as we refer to it, Lake Michigan, as well as, downtown living as well, too. So some people choose to live in a condo in downtown which there's tons of bars and restaurants and a whole scene going on there, and then can kind of drive to the lake as well too. So lots of options in Traverse City. Average price point over $500,000. My top pick for Great Lakes cities here in Michigan. Up next, this to me is sort of like a gem that's not as talked about as much as it should, in my opinion, because it's a much smaller city than Traverse City. However, I'm a huge fan. We did this one a couple years ago, and I absolutely love Saugatuck, Michigan. So Saugatuck is quite a bit south of Traverse City, still on the west side of the state. What's nice about Saugatuck is if you're in Southeast Michigan, it's really only about a 2.5 hour drive. Traverse City is like 4 to 5 hours, depending on where you're coming from. Saugatuck is like half of that. Depending on where you're coming from in Southeast Michigan, or if you're on the west side of the state, a lot of people live there as their principal residence, or a lot of people, again, live in that general area like Grand Rapids. It can't be further than maybe 45 to an hour, something like that, from Grand Rapids to Saugatuck. So I love this town, okay? It's in Allegan County. It's along the shore of Lake Michigan, awarded Best Beach Town in 2020 by Midwest Living Magazine, interesting fact, and has a really cool downtown area. The population of Saugatuck is under 1,000, according to our research, about 873 people in Saugatuck. And so again, I think you have this downtown area, which sits on this absolute gorgeous, it's called a bay, right? I think it's a bay slash lake slash huge harbor. I don't know what you want to call it. I should be better there. But anyway, the downtown area is adorable, for lack of better terms. I mean, it's very like small town Michigan lake town vibes, without a doubt. And you can actually come all the way in from the big lake from Lake Michigan and actually park, your boat in town there. And so a lot of people have very expensive slips. There's very expensive boats right downtown, and it creates this vibe, right? Because you drive into town and there's kind of like a hill, and you come in and there's all these big boats. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's on the water. There's tons of restaurants and bars, and it's really kind of like a happening scene. What's cool about Saugatuck is not only do you have like the water right downtown and that whole downtown vibe, is you're literally like a couple miles or not even from Lake Michigan itself. So like when we stayed there, we actually stayed off of Lakeshore Drive, and we're on the big lake. So we stayed in a little cabin. We're on the big lake. We just literally walked down like 50 steps, and we had this like private beach on Lake Michigan. I mean, white sand. It is absolutely gorgeous, and you have your own slice of heaven there. There's a lot of people in that area that kind of make their travels up from Chicago, because Chicago's not crazy far, as well as Detroit. But I think Saugatuck is one of the most underrated areas. Housing statistics kind of tell me otherwise. The homes in Saugatuck are all really, really nice. There's a lot of old Victorians, a lot of old real estate there, and they're all fixed up really nice and impossible to get these days. So the housing statistics tell me otherwise. I just think a lot of people in Michigan, when they talk about where they travel to their lake house, they're not always hitting Saugatuck, in my mind at least. But average price range, $700,000, just over $700,000. Days on market, 45 days on market, which is really low at that price point in this type of a town. Average price per square foot, $386 per foot. Again, we only have so much data as far as MLS across the state here in Michigan, but this is as accurate as information as we can get. So close to $400 a square foot in Saugatuck. I mean, this is real high-end real estate, guys. Mid-century moderns, ranch, bungalows, traditional. Like, there's a lot of new construction, a lot of huge lake houses and log cabins and stuff on the big lake as well, too. Saugatuck, Michigan, very, very high on my list. Absolutely great town to think about if you're purchasing a beautiful lake house here in Michigan. Okay, guys, for sake of speed, I'm gonna highlight one real quick that was gonna be on our list, but we're not gonna use, and that's Marquette, Michigan. Population 20,000, just over 20,000. It is the county seat of Marquette County, way up in the Upper Peninsula, and the largest city in the Upper Peninsula. Is also the home of Northern Michigan University. I'm not gonna deep dive there. I like Marquette. It's gonna be an asterisk on our list today. It's a cool town. I don't know if I necessarily consider it a lake town in the UP, but I wanted to talk about another town in the Upper Peninsula because I think it goes unnoticed. It's definitely on our channel, definitely on a lot of channels, but okay, you have the Lower Peninsula and you have the Upper Peninsula. We try to talk about it as much as we can. This is the Upper Peninsula. Yes, still part of Michigan, even though it is attached to Wisconsin, okay? So Upper Peninsula is awesome. I love traveling up there. Super, super highly recommend. But one of my favorite towns is, I guess you could definitely consider a lake town, is going to be Christmas, Michigan, okay? So it's all the way Upper Peninsula. It's all the way up on Lake Superior, and there's tons of cool towns on Lake Superior and throughout the Upper Peninsula without a doubt. But I think it is awesome up there. I've spent a lot of time in that area. One of my favorite things to do is go hang out out for a week or two in the Upper Peninsula. If you're not from the state and you're thinking about moving to the state and you don't check out the Upper Peninsula and make a trip out of it, specifically you're an outdoors type person, you're really missing out, okay? So Christmas, Michigan has no defined borders or population statistics. It is a Train Township in Elder County. There used to be Christmas tree factory here before it burned down in 1940. That's why they call it Christmas, Michigan. So if you're driving through Christmas, the things that you'll know is you're going to be driving through the Upper Peninsula, and eventually you're going to run into a little town there. It's right on the lake, and eventually there's a big Santa Claus guy in that town. That's how you know you're in Christmas. And right after the Santa Claus guy is going to be a Indian-owned casino right there in Christmas. Cool little town. We've camped there. We've done Airbnbs there. It is awesome. And this is going to be an opposite statistic as you would get in a Saugatuck or a Traverse City. And that's why I wanted to talk about this town. Average price range, $135,000. Average days on market, 20 days on market. Still selling very, very fast. Average price per square foot, $122 per foot. Average home builds, traditionals, colonials, ranch, bungalows, Cape Cod contemporary. So this is a completely different span of the imagination of home prices, okay? There's not that many homes right on the water in Christmas, the way that the road goes through and all the state parks are in there, but there's a lot of cool little houses there. We rented one recently, great Airbnbs. There's a casino there, so you can do camping, bonfire, casino, go into town, get fish and chips. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention. So the Upper Peninsula is known for fish and chips, okay? You get Great Lakes whitefish and chips, which of course are French fries. In case you're not from the area, you don't know what that means, but fish and chips, Upper Peninsula, you got to get those. There are also other up-known favorites, like pasties is a big favorite in the Upper Peninsula. It's like a fried dough thing stuffed with like meat and potatoes and different stuff. They're really known for that up north, as well as fish and chips and some other delicacies as well too, depending on the time of year. Lots of venison up there. But Christmas, Michigan, a really cool town, completely different vibe as far as real estate up there. But again, if you're into outdoorsy type and you're not visiting the Upper Peninsula, you're super, super, super slacking in my opinion. It's an awesome place.